Right, what have I got today? Bing bang bong, here we go. Right, well, today it is a Lumintop, and I do apologise, it's taken me weeks and weeks to review this. Now, one of the reasons it's taken me so long to review this is because I'm currently in lockdown, and it limits the freedoms which I'd normally have, and I'm not going to do a rubbish review. There's no point in doing a review unless you do it properly, so I've extended the time. I normally take at least 2 weeks to carry these things every day. I've extended that because I wanted to give myself enough time to use it in enough different situations, which I think I have. So let's get on with it. Enough of me whinging, let's get on with it. So this is the Lumintop HL3A. Someone was saying in one of the forums, I think, if I cast my mind back, it was based on the FW3A light, but I'll look into that. But I've really liked it so far. So as I open this, I shall show you what it's like, and I'll talk about it. And just so you know, the particular model that I've got, I mean, that's obviously the main model there, but the one I've gone for is the XPL High 5000K. I'll explain and break down what they mean though, because there are certain options when it comes to the emitter. And when I say emitter, I just mean the LED. In other words, the different colors, tints, outputs, and things like that. So it's a triple emitter, this one, so let's get it open. And it has a maximum output of around 2,800 lumens. And I trust Lumintop, they generally tell the truth. Yes, that may drop rapidly, but okay, that's their maximum turbo output. So let's see what you get. So you get instructions, and as you know, I'm not a big fan of reading instructions. I can't be bothered to read all of that, but what I will do is, there's the UI, but I will go over that in fine detail. But for anyone who wants to pause it, there you go, you can have a read of that. Be my guest. Right, boosh in the bin, not going to read that. Okay, so there's the light, very nice. And what else do you get in the box? We'll take everything out of the box so I can drop kick it. Now that's the headband, which is a 3-pointer, and I'll go through that. Then a little clip and some O-rings, and that's your lot. Anything hidden under there? Any £5,000 notes? No, nothing. Right, boosh, in the bin. Right, so we'll quickly go over these first. So first off, which is normally the case with most Chinese lights, although this is Lumintop, which I think is Japanese, but I don't know if they're made in China. Let's have a look. Yeah, Shenzhen, China. So most of these Chinese lights that you get, you'll find you get 2 spare O-rings. Now the whole point of those is it goes between 2 machined parts, in other words the threaded sections. You're trying to retain waterproofing because you're never going to get a perfect seal unless you go to the tiniest micron when you're machining these things, which they probably don't in these instances. So they prevent water getting in, but I'll go over those stats because this is an IPX8, or that's their claim anyway. So I'll put that to one side. Nice to see. You get a little clip here. Now it's a pretty sturdy one, which I like, and it doesn't feel cheap. It's well finished, it's nice and smooth, pretty nice. So I'll show you how to clip that on. So if you did want to use this, because you can use this as what some people refer to as an L shape or a right angle light. In other words, you can clip this. I've clipped these sorts of lights to molly webbing. If you're in the army or you're tactical for any particular reason, you can clip this. Especially I found this useful, clipping into top pockets and molly webbing when you're trying to read a map and things like that. Very, very useful. Also, just stick on your belt. So it does work pretty decent, and when you actuate this, it doesn't come off. So decent, and that's pretty firm. It doesn't come off with the lightest of wind. So very good. I won't put that on just while I'm showing it. Here's the headband. Now, I think they've done a good job here, and I'll explain why. With a headband, I know some people complain, they say you just need this section, which goes around the circumference of the skull, but I prefer a 3-pointer. So it's going over the top as well. It just gives you more options. It causes less jiggle, especially once you walk more quickly or you're running, trail running or anything like that. I prefer that. I know some people don't, but I do. Also, I appreciate the fact that even though this is rubber, it's quite sturdy. You can put a little bit of torsion on it and it's not absolutely falling to bits. I mean, if you compare that to, if you remember my review of the Convoy H1, okay for the price, but just okay. Now look at this. Dead floppy, useless. When you put that on your head, basically what happens is, even if that's at full tightness, look, see it flopping forward there, look, useless. Whereas this one, I didn't notice that at all. Even with a weight on, look, it's not floppy. It's thick enough in this section and robust enough, and it works. Also, they'd actually bothered to put on reflective stripes. Great if you're out running, although these heavier lights are probably not always best for running. Although to be fair, this is very light. I did do a little bit of running, very, very briefly. And it was fine, no problems, no major jiggle. It's nice and compact because of this accentuated L section here. It keeps it compact. It's not a large surface, and this isn't far enough protruding forward where it flops and wiggles and things like that. So never had any problems with that. So I appreciate the fact I've added that. That's a bit of added value. The elastic itself is very good. They've even added this gel stuff. Now what that actually does is on bare skin anyway, so around the front, near the ears and things like that, this actually provides some grip. It's kind of like, it's hard to explain. It's got like a wet feel, so you get a bit of grip. I've no idea what the whole point of that is. I was reading on the website that was saying it stops sweat or something. I don't really think it does. I mean, anything can stop sweat. That's the whole point of a sweatband, basically. You're just stopping it getting in your eyes. But decent. All of these clips worked fine. I never had a single problem with it, so well done. And obviously, to use that, you just slip it in and out. You know, just goes in like that and then through the next one. So bang, straight in, no problems. And then you can twist. If you're dealing on something, you can twist and use it like that, or angle it slightly further forward if you're walking or running or anything like that. And then when you want to use it, just take it out. Very easy. Now, yes, I will admit there are better implementations. For example, I'm a big fan of the Armitech. Now, the Armitech system is a clip in, clip out with a retainer. So here's the clipping mechanism, top and bottom. Okay, see that? And it means you can work on stuff, you can still rotate and all of that, but then when you need it, you can just pull it out. The problem is, over time, this is weakened, so I'm not very happy with that. I might try and bend that in slightly somehow. Oh, now see, broken already, so there you go. So well done, Armitech. So can you see what I mean? How that doesn't last. That's the unfortunate thing. Now, if it was working, you've got this retaining strap, which will still work. So there's your retaining strap. But I just think you'd be better off using either metal to have this open like that, or, I mean, I did have, I haven't even reviewed it yet, but the Luminite version uses a metal clip, which is much, much better. So as you can see, the Armitech one, I'll have to get a new one already, even though they're rather expensive. So I'll have a word with them, but I just thought that this one is certainly going to have longevity too, because it has a bit of movement in it, and there's no problems with that. So put that to one side. Let's concentrate on the light. So what are the specs on this? So spec-wise, well, it's a triple emitter. So when I speak about triple emitter, I'm talking about 3 LEDs. So there's the design there. You've got 2 up top and then 1 down the bottom there. So let's zoom in and have a look at that if I can get it to focus. There you go. Okay, so you've got these 3 now over the top, laid over the top of them. Instead of having some sort of reflector around them, what you've got is you've got a TIR lens. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to diffuse the light without blocking it too much in order to get a nice even coverage up close. And I'll quickly go over that because I do in the videos, even though some people complain and say, will you stop going on about it? So if you want, you can quickly go past that, but I think it bears repeating. So generally you have your LED, then light comes out and goes willy-nilly all over the shop. And then one option is, now imagine this is a cross section, okay? So here's your torch or flashlight if you prefer to call it that, and there's your cell. Now if you put a smooth reflector around it, you get your spill, which is coming directly, and then you get your directed light, which is your spot. Now when it hits the wall, you may have recognized you get this sort of arrangement. So you're getting, this is the light that's trying to be focused and sent outwards. So an example of that, I'll show you on the HC65 by Nightcore. Here's a smooth reflector. So if we look at that, I'll engage the circuit. There you go. So now can you see the problem? Here's your spill, which is fine, okay? Now your spot, unfortunately, see how it obscures detail completely? You cannot even see what I've just written there. Can't be seen. Now yes, the advantage is it's firing the light out. This directed light is going to go further, but most of the times on a headlamp, you're dealing with, you're either cooking, going for a pee, camping, working on a car, working up close with your hands. So you don't really need it to go much further than your hands, or in fact from your head to the ground, really. If you're running, yeah, you need it to go out a little bit more. So basically another option is, if you imagine another cross section, you can have an orange peel reflector. So it's not smooth, it's got little aberrations. And so what happens is you still get the spill, yes, but your spot is a little bit more diffuse on the edges. There's a transition zone between the two areas. So an example of that would be, let's find one. Now this is one, the H1, which I just showed you before. Now if we zoom in on the reflector there, now can you see you've got your LED in the middle, and then around it you've got this orange peel reflector. It's certainly not smooth, is it? It's got lots of little bumps, just like an orange peel has. You've got these little imperfections built in. So if we turn that on, I'll turn it up so that that's still high. Now can you see, yes, there's some obscuring, but it's certainly less than before. And you've got this transition zone between the spill and the spot in this section here. So what you're trying to do there is you're trying to get so it works a little bit better up close, but unfortunately by doing that you get a little less distance. So you're probably thinking, well, is there not a better method for up close? Well, yes, there is. You can use a TIR lens rather than a reflector. So there's your LED, and then you plonk over the top. Imagine this is a cross section, a solid piece of material which allows the light to come through. And then the light's bounced around, and it leaves based on how this is designed, the outside. Sometimes you get little micro lenses, sometimes you get triple lenses like this. So basically what's happening is the light's being reflected about, so TIR, total internal reflection. And then what happens is you get a nice diffuse beam. Now again, another example of that is on that same light that I showed you before. You've got the smooth reflector. You also have this, which is, you can see it has a TIR. So if we zoom in on that, that is a TIR over the top there. So you can see it's going to diffuse the light. So no good at range, useless at range, but beautiful up close. So if we turn that on, now that's the red one, so I'll get it this time there. Now can you see that's on full there, but I'm holding it very close, but there's no obscuring of detail whatsoever. It's a beautiful diffuse light. There's no pattern, there's no flower petaling when you're turning. It just works up close, which is exactly what they've done here. So you're probably thinking, well, okay, but there's three, so there must be a bit of flower petaling. There must be a pattern. There's very little, put it that way, and especially if it's on your head and you're looking at the ground, you're not going to notice much. I mean, there are lights where you do notice that. If you remember the E4K, the Nightcore had flower petaling, which I wasn't so keen on, but it's not the end of the world. And even if this did have it, it's certainly not going to kill you. It's just something you need to be aware of. So in regards to the LEDs on this one, so get rid of that. I've gone for the XPL High. High just stands for high intensity. There's two options with the Cree emitters. There is the cool white, which runs at 6,500 K, and it goes to neutral white, which is 5,000 K. There's no warm light. So if you remember, I've told you this on many videos, where if you imagine on a scale, you've got sort of warm light down here, and then you've got cool light up here. What happens is in the middle, you've got neutral. So warm light is what you get on a warm sunny day. So if there was no clouds in the sky, it's basically the colour you're going to get from sunlight or very close to it. Yes, I realise sunlight is white, but when it hits the earth and goes through our atmosphere, by the time it reaches the floor, it's basically yellowish, it's warm. Neutral is more of a mix between that and a more whiter looking tint, and then about 6,500 K is what some people call white light or cool white. It looks very more artificial, I would argue. Now there are benefits to this, but those benefits are generally only worth discussing on what's called a thrower, which is something that's going to get distant. So I'm not going to go into that on this, but I can in the comments section if you really want to know, or check my other guides. Okay, so you're probably thinking, well, is that it? You can only get the Cree emitters, and it only comes in two colours: the neutral at 5,000 K or the cool white at 6,500 K. No, there aren't. I've noticed that now they also sell, if I remember rightly, I think they're doing a cheer. I think it's a 219C. Yes, okay, it's the 219C. I'm pretty sure of that. Now that only runs at 4,000 K, which is fine. That's a lovely, beautiful. So if you remember down the bottom of the scale, that's a nice warm light. But be aware, bear in mind, on the Crees, this is hitting about 2,800 lumens. But the Nichias, unfortunately, because you get a better color rendering index, which I'll go into in a moment, you lose lumen output. So you only get 1,600 lumens. So massive, massive drop there, unfortunately. So sad to see that, but that's the price you pay when you want a better color reproduction index. So what's a color reproduction index? Color reproduction index is just a better representation of what you're seeing. So for example, if you go and get a sunbed or at a tanning salon or something like that, you're getting a very, very short wavelength of light from the UV spectrum there, from white light, the visible section of light. So you're getting a colour cast. Everything looks purple. It looks bloody awful, and it's not very particularly nice to look at, is it? So if you increase that and include more of the visible light, you get what's called a better sort of colour gamut. You're getting a bigger palette of colours to work from, and you're getting a better representation. I mean, I think the Kree's run at something about 70%, so you're missing out on a lot. It doesn't cause too much of an issue, but things look better, especially if you're a photographer or a tint snob and things like that. If you prefer that, go and get the Nichia 219C, which is the 4000K. Yes, you get less lumens, but things look better. And you could argue that if you're cooking and baking and you know, doing with wires and engines and stuff, you should be getting the Nichia. Problem is they run hotter and you get less lumen output, but that's a decision you need to make. I'm not going to tell you what to get. There's also another option, which I think is the SST20. It's not the SST40i, it's the SST20, and that again runs at 4000K, but I don't want to get bogged down in emitters. So moving on, so if we can keep this review under 6 hours. So like I say, it's a TIR. It also comes with a tail magnet, which I shall show you if I've got a little knife. There's one. So if you've got a metal surface, bang, it will stick to the metal surface. And I've tried this on various surfaces. Fantastic, never had a problem. Very impressive. In fact, I'll bring up a little bit of footage. We had a power cut at work and I had to use this. It was just in one of the rooms in one part of the building. So what I did was I stuck this on the roof, brilliant. And as you can see in the footage there, a nice neutral light. It's neither too white or too yellowy, but brilliant. It's never fell off anything, and it's not heavy enough to. Some of them are so heavy, you see, that they start sliding down surfaces, but this doesn't. Even on a smooth surface, it's been fine. It's been on the ceiling, no problems whatsoever. So let's stick that knife away before I stab myself. Okay, so moving on, how does it feel? I love this knurling. It's a nice deep knurling. It's not like a superficial knurling that you get on some of the convoys. It's very, very good. I really like that. I like the size of it. I like the design, beautiful, even though it is a semi-fugly, but I say that because if I've got one hanging about, I think I had one somewhere. There it is. If you remember my review of the Fireflies, it looked slightly fugly. In other words, it was very right angular. Now this goes for a similar design. If you see, it's a very similar concept. It looks like some sort of pipe your grandfather used to smoke. But it makes sense because it shortens the overall length, and I appreciate that. And it's certainly less big than this, and it's much better. I really like it. It's very pocketable, even in my hand. Yes, I'm a big tall guy, but it can't be seen. It fit in every single pocket. I even had it in my top pocket. No problems, didn't fall out or wobble about or anything. I really liked it. In regards to aesthetics, it's pretty good. I mean, we'll have a close look at the paintwork. If you zoom in there, you see around the here, this section, you can see it's got a few dings. So the paint's been okay. I'll give it a pass, but it hasn't been as good as some of them. Jet Beam seem to do the best paintwork. I don't know why, but you can see the paint on here has slightly come off. That's been in various pockets, in various coat pockets, top pockets, side pockets, with keys, without keys, in drawers. But other than that, there's been very few dings on it. It's done good. There's a little bit of a one there. Not sure what happened there, but okay, it's not the thickest paint, but it's certainly not going to cause me to scream and shout from the rooftops. In regards to the button, it's nice. There's not a lot of actuation needed to set it off. Look, I'll show you. Listen, the tiniest movement and the button goes. That's not always a bad thing. Sometimes that means you can inadvertently not knock it, but you can E-lock out, which is four presses, and there's an E-lock out, and it isn't going to work. So always do that. If you get into that habit, it's not going to be an issue. I prefer a button to be a little bit more recessed, but it's okay. At first I thought, oh, I don't like that button, and why is it metal? It actually looks quite nice. It's machined, so I got used to it. At first I thought, why isn't it lit up like most of these other ones? You know, they have lit up buttons. There's the Fireflies, for example. I haven't really got any examples just at hand, but a lot of them have a lit up button. But as I've used this, I've thought, what's the point in having a lit up button? Basically, you're just increasing the parasitic drain on the battery. So what's the point? And that hasn't caused an issue. So like the button, as long as you remember the E-lock out, otherwise you're going to inadvertently knock that on, but that's not always an issue if you know what you're doing. So in regards to batteries, this uses a 18650, so here's an 18650 just for size. All of the lights I tested it against, bar one, which was the 21700 cell in the Fireflies, or the 18650 lights, which it's a standard battery these days. So I'll open this up, and just for a laugh, I'm going to use the Union Jack one. Huzzah!
One. Let's celebrate with a pint of me! Huzzah!
Okay, so let's get this put in here. Now, if you look on Lumintop's own website, they say you want a battery that has at least 10 amps plus on continuous drain. Why is that? Because amps has nothing to do with much, does it? Well, amps is the grunt that you're going to get out of the battery. So unfortunately, if you want to maintain the top turbo levels, you're going to have at least 10 amps, and that's just a little warning there. If you don't, it's likely to just quickly drop out of turbo, or you'll not get it at all. So let's have a quick look. And here you've got a spring down the bottom, and let's have a little feel. Not bad yet, semi-stiff, not particularly decent. Little O-ring there, it's lightly greased. I prefer lightly greased. You get some lights and they're caked in this funny jelly stuff, and all it does is it just attracts dust and lint, but that's pretty good. That looks decent enough, nicely machined. And then up top, we'll zoom in there, you've got the top spring there with your now that looks like 3, 4, 5, 6 little driver chips there. Pretty decent, nice and clean and tidy. I've not seen any design issues that I'm particularly worried about. Pretty decent. So let's get that in there. I'll screw that up. So like I say, we've gone over the strap and all of that, and this does have a temperature step down. In fact, if you bear with me, I'll go and get my temperature probe. There it is. Right, so what we'll do is we'll use that to test temperature step down later. Temperature step down just means it's going to reach a certain temperature on turbo specifically, and then it's going to have to step down the output. So what we'll do is we'll go straight to that now. So there's turbo, and then what we'll do is we'll see what the temperature is now. So temperature on there, so you can see it rising. In fact, we'll put it there, put it like that so we can actually see. Okay. So already we're at 45 degrees. I'm guessing probably about 50 that's going to start stepping down. So there, right, I can see that's starting to step down now. Right, so it didn't even reach 50. So about 47, 48 degrees, certainly on the external surface anyway, and that's going to start stepping down. In other words, the output is going to lessen. So that was very, very rapid, I'm sure you'll agree, to go from turbo to a reduced rate anyway. So that's a shame, but you know, it's not the end of the world. A lot of these lights at such high turbos, they're going to step down. Even the ones that run at 1200 lumens, you're going to get that step down. It's just one of those things. Now, obviously, if you're in a very, very, very cold environment, that step down is going to occur at a different rate as opposed to someone who's in a red hot desert, for example. So just bear that in mind. It's based on the temperature that it's currently detecting. Okay, so we'll go over some of the specs just quickly. It's using FET drivers, so again, you want a high amp cell because it's going to suck what it can, especially on turbo. It's got the temperature step down, which I've covered there anyway. Anduril UI, which is beautiful. I've really enjoyed using that. I'm very au fait with it. I'm going to talk about that at a later section of this video, so people can skip that if they want, because a lot of people are already up to date on how that works. But I've found it extremely useful. Everything is very easy. You know, if you want to lock it there, you can lock it, you can go straight to battery checks. It's, you know, no problems. It's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. 1, 2, 3, 4, it's locked out. One of the features I did like is when it is locked out, it does work. It doesn't work in full mode, but you get this tiny little moonlight mode, which is very helpful if you want to look at something quickly or a map, and then put it back in again without having to lock it. Really enjoyed that. So it's an IP68. So what does that mean? Well, IP stands for ingress protection. Ingress is just posh for get in, basically. So the 6 figure means it is dust proof. It's sealed against dust around here, and obviously this section, because you can't take the bottom off, it's just 2 sections. You've got the head and the tail, and that's it. IP68, now the 8 stands for the waterproofing. Now they're quoting you can put this in up to 2 meters of water. So if you can imagine a water depth of 2 meters on top of that, pushing, trying to get in. They're saying it'll last 30 minutes, no problem in that. Brilliant. If this isn't a heavy rainstorm on your head, you do not have to worry. I like IPX8, and I think more lights should be like that. One of the things is because it's got such a high IPX rating, it means there's no silly little holes to get in. Now, one of the drawbacks of that is it means this isn't a USB chargeable. A lot of lights are. So, for example, if I look at the, where is it? Here we go. We've got the Sofern here. Now, the problem is this is USB rechargeable, but you see the problem? It's had to use one of these daft flaps. You lose waterproofing from that. I don't care what people say, you lose waterproofing, unfortunately, which is a downer really. But you gain the ability to charge this whilst it's on your head and on. So a lot of people like that because you can put a battery pack in your pocket and use that whilst it's still on your head if you've got a mega long hike. Now there are other methods for charging as well. You've got magnetic charging. So for example on the Omnitech here, you can magnetically charge it like this. Also, you know, there's a similar thing on the Luminite magnetic charge, and it means you can charge it, but you're not sacrificing waterproofing by having a daft little thing. Although, having said that, there was a little bit of a clever design on this is the HL3A by Astrolux. I found this a little bit too heavy, but you're probably thinking, well, how's that rechargeable? It's got no magnetic base thing for charging, and where's the silly little hole? There isn't one, but you've got this. So if I take this down, you see how this is threaded and behind a sealed section. You can charge this, but it's behind 2 O-rings. So I love that design. I think you're getting the best of both worlds there, although you do have to undo that every time you want to charge it. Although for me that isn't an issue, certainly, because I take the batteries out and I put them in an external charger. But these are just little options that you need to bear in mind. So you've got to ask yourself, how am I going to use this? Is this going to be used on mega long hikes? If it is, you may be better off with something with a magnetic or USB charging option. So you need to bear that in mind. So that's a little down point, but that isn't the design of this. That isn't the idea behind this. This is, I would say, for short-term use. Camping, standard, straightforward, sensible things. Okay, so let's talk about the pros and cons, and then I'm going to go into the UI because people will probably want to skip that. So pros and cons. So pros, magnetic base, which actually works. I've used that many a times. I've used it in the garage, I used it in the car, I used it at work, and I think I used it in the back garden actually. I put it on some metal part of the furniture while I was mucking about, and that worked fine, no problems. It's very small, it's pocketable, it's well made. The paint could be a little bit thicker, but that's not the end of the world. And I trust Lumintop that this isn't going to fall to bits. Their lights are always decent, I've never had a problem with them. It's very powerful, although there is that step down issue. But the problem is, you know, from an 18650 cell, you're pushing nearly 3000 lumens. You're going to have to expect a lot of heat, therefore you're going to have to expect a step down. It goes with the territory, unfortunately. As good as LEDs are, they're not that good. So what else can I say? So I love the UI. The UI is one of the high points for me, although it is very complicated, and I wouldn't probably want to give this to a flashlight muggle, basically. Although you can put it in a muggle mode, but again, you need to know how to put it in the muggle mode to get to the muggle mode. So you need someone who knows what they're doing beforehand. So you could say that that's kind of pointless. Very powerful. The headband, brilliant. I've really liked the headband. You've got this grip which actually works. This conforms to the body slightly, and yet it's rigid enough. This is pretty decent. You can get it in and out, no problems. It's been very durable so far. It hasn't fallen to bits or anything. All the clips have been fine, so I've been really impressed with that. So I think they've done a good job there. It's a TIR, you're getting a clip, which is a decent clip as well. That works. TIR, I think, is a very good choice for close-up work, and they've picked the right one here. The price is actually decent as well. This is a Lumintop, which is a quality brand. This is a great output, a nice design, and yet it's not too much of a rip-off like some of the other brands. So again, price I think is okay. It's pretty good. I'm not going to complain about that, and it's well made. So you probably think, well, okay, here comes the big list of cons. There isn't really a big list of cons. No USB charging, but that's only a con for certain people. Yes, it makes it easier, and some people on long hikes need that. A lot of people probably won't. Okay, so that may or may not be a real con for some people. and the quick step down from turbo. And the paint could be a little bit sort of thicker, but other than that, I'm finding it very hard to find problems with this. You've got nice emitter choices if you want them. I can't really complain, basically. So I'm going to give this quite a high mark. I'm going to give this 9 out of 10. I have to, because you've got all those pros and 2 cons that I can think of. That's not a lot, really, is it? And a decent price. So well done, Lumintop. As usual, I wasn't sure whether I'd like this, but as usual, Lumintop proved me wrong. So 9 out of 10. I think they've done a decent job. So for people who want to skip, I'm going to put a little thing up here, which is a little timeline skipper thing. So you can keep an eye on that. If you don't want to know about the UI, you already know about Anduril, you can just skip that. Okay, so for those who are still with me, let's go over the UI. So UI just means user interface. So how do you operate this light? So once you've got a battery in, it's on. It's 1 click for on and 1 click for off. So let's get this out of lock mode. Right, okay, so 1 click for on, 1 click for off. And it remembers the last mode you're in, so it's going to go straight back to that. So very, very simple. Now, on from that, there are more options. So when it is on, this is a ramping UI. You don't have to pick 15,000 modes. So if you hold it, it's going to go up, and then there's a little, you see the momentary flicker there? That means it's at its maximum. Click and hold. There's a half flicker there when it goes to half, and then that's the lowest. So that's the lowest setting there. So we'll show you that again. So the lowest setting, click and hold, and then half, there was a little flicker, and then a little flicker again means full. So you quickly get to half there. I like that little visual cue telling you which part of the ramping that you're at, and it works beautifully. That's a very quick and intuitive visual way to get through the output, and I really like ramping. Now you can change the ramping mode between a stepped mode and the smooth mode. So you've just seen smooth there. So let's say you've got the light on. So if we go 1, 2, 3, when it's on, there was a little almost imperceivable flash there. So now watch, see how it goes up, 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 and then down, 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 down. It goes up and down in steps rather than a smooth ramp. So I'll show you that again. Up, up, up. See how it's perceivable at each ramp. So if we want to change back to smooth, 1, 2, 3, there was a little bit of a flicker there, which means we're back to a smooth ramp. See that? Now you still get those little tiny little flickers at 50% and 100%, which lets you know where you are within the ramp. So brilliant system there. And you've got it stepped if you want it. Okay, so you've got 2 clicks as well, which is turbo. So turn your light on, and then if you go 2 clicks, straight to turbo. That's its maximum output. That's hot on the hand there. Massive. That's 2,800 lumens. But as you've seen before, there's a rapid step down once the temperature reaches a certain threshold. In fact, that's already very hot to hold there. I can hold it, but it's very, very hot. Okay, so there's also 3 clicks. So 3 clicks is called battery check section. Oh, I call it that anyway, battery check. So 1, 2, 3, and then watch. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, so 3 and then 9. So what does that mean? Well, that means that this current cell in here is running at 3.9 volts. So that gives you an idea of how much energy is left stored in here. When it's fully charged, you're going to get it at 4.2 volts, and then it's going to drop and drop and drop. And I think there is low battery voltage on this. I think when it's 2.8 or 2.6, I think it might be 2.8, there's low battery cut out. It's going to stop you knacking the battery, basically. I mean, some people may have preferred to have a percentage flash out, like 10 for 100% and 5 for 50, but I'm okay with voltage, and I think most of the people who buy this and that this is aimed at will understand the voltages. So that's what that is. So also within there, what you can do is, so we'll go back to that mode again. So 1, 2, 3. So you're in battery check mode. Now within then you can advance through the subsection. So within this subsection, so we'll go 2 presses. Right, so you're probably thinking, well, it's not doing anything, it's just on. Well, it is. This is known as good night mode or sunset mode. So what it does is, whatever level that's at, it will slowly, ever so slowly over the course of an hour, ramp down. I don't know what the point of that is. Maybe it's if you're having a romantic evening in with a wife, or you're scared of the dark. I don't know what the purpose of that is, but it exists. If you want that, it's there, okay? Now, again, within this subsection, you can move to the next mode. So 2 presses should take us to beacon. There you go, that's beacon. So what's beacon? Well, you can leave this, and it's going to use, it's going to use hardly any of the battery up. But what it's going to do is it's going to flash out a quick flash like that. So just 1 flash like that at maximum. So that's good as a positioning aid, or as a beacon or a rally point. or for SOS situations. That's good. I've used that a couple of times just for rally points and stuff, and it works. So handy to have. You also have temp check. So if we go to the next one, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So 2 and then 8. So what that's telling me is internally the temperature is currently at 28 Celsius. So still quite hot from the turbo that I did, and I can still feel a little bit of the heat there emanating from the heatsink section. So that's good if you want to check what your temperatures are. There are advanced sections which I'm not going to go into, and you can change the step downs and thermal regulation. Okay, so that was your 3 clicks. So what's 4 click? Well, 4 click is E-lockout. So 1 2 3 4. See, there was a couple of little flashes. Now this won't work, but it will slightly. So in other words, it won't work normally, but you can get it a very, very, very low level. You see how low that is? Look. It's just enough to check a map without giving away a position or ruin your night vision, and for quick jobs. If you thought, well, I wish I had just a little bit more, you can double press. So there's your tiny section. And if you double press, you get a lot more. You can go through your pockets, check something, start a car, work on something, let go, it's back in E-lockout mode. You don't have to come out of that mode. I really, really, really like that feature. And I think I've said that multiple times. It does work. E-lockout's brilliant, and you need it with this button so you don't inadvertently drain the battery, but it gives you quick access to some light. Now when you let go, you're back, you're locked, and you don't have to worry again. Okay, so you also have 5 clicks. So 5 clicks is a momentary mode. So 1 2 3 4 5. Oh, did I get it? No. Right, I've come out of lockout mode, and now I can go to 5. So 1 2 3 4 5. Right, this should be momentary mode, or I think some people call it tactical. So what it means is it's either on or it's off. That's it. There's no ramping. There's nothing. It's either on or it's off. There are tactical applications for that, and when you need to know that it's going to work at a specific level and no other level. Most people probably don't need that. And to kill that, if you just totally disengage the circuit, so that's what I've done there, disengage the circuit and put it back again, you're going to get back to the default, which is ramping. So we'll just check that. So yes, ramping up and ramping down again. Perfect. Okay, 6 clicks gives you what's called Muggle mode. Now, what's Muggle mode? Well, Muggles in Harry Potter are just non-magic users. So the inclination of what they're trying to describe there is they're trying to say that it's people who don't understand UIs and just want something simple. And that's what it does, and it works quite well. So if we try that, so we'll go 1 2 3 4 5 6. There was a little flash there. So now what it means is you can turn it on, turn it off. You can ramp, but you can't ramp as much. It ramps not to its highest. It'll ramp down, but not necessarily to its lowest. So what you're doing is you're simplifying the UI massively, and you're saying you can turn it on, turn it off, you can ramp it moderately high and moderately low, but that's it. So to turn that off, 1 2 3 4 5 6, there. So Muggle mode basically is if you want to hand that to someone who doesn't want to, study for 6 months to understand the UI, basically. We've all had that situation where you want to hand it to someone who just says, I just want a flashlight that works. You would probably put it in Muggle mode for them. Okay, so as well as that, you also have 7 clicks. Okay, so what's 7 clicks? Well, 7 clicks is for backlight modes. Now, this may or may not work on this because it doesn't have auxiliary light. So let's just try that. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Nothing. Okay, so that's not going to work on this. I mean, obviously something like this within Anduril, and that's the only reason I'm going over that. It doesn't exist on this light, but I'm just telling you 7 clicks on Anduril would be to change the auxiliary lights on something like this. Or in fact the HL01 which is by Astrolux would be another example of that. Okay, so you also have semi modes, so let's go into them. So as long as you're in normal mode, you've got click, click, hold mode. So click, click, hold takes you into special modes. So, right, you've got candle. Now, what's candle? Now, can you see how the light is very unsteady? It flickers. Sometimes it flickers more, sometimes it flickers less. It's hard to see actually on camera. You may see that they're better. And you can change the intensity of this. You can have lighter or less intense there. Very similar to a candle flickering and spluttering. You can use that if it's, you know, Valentine's Day or you're hosting a Halloween party. I don't know, if you're a member of a cult maybe. So within those modes, you can double click to go to the next mode. So the next one is bush. Now what's that mode there? Now that is bike mode. So you've got your main beam, but then you've also got this flicker, this quick strobe flicker. Now the whole point of that is to make yourself more apparent. People see that and it's very visually interesting to the human eye, and you look and it warns others of your position. So very, very, very handy if you're on a bike, because unfortunately a lot of people on bikes get hit by cars and things like that. So very, very useful for them. Okay, so what's the next mode? So we'll go to the next one, and I'll cover it. Right, I'll cover that because I don't want to ruin people's epilepsy and things like that. So this is, I think, this is party mode. So basically, if you're having a party, it's a bit of strobe. Basically, that's what it's for. Now you can change the rate. So if you click and hold, it goes much faster. So you can hardly see the flicker there. And then if you click and hold, it'll get faster, 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 slower, 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 slower. Very slow cyclic rate there on the strobe. Then click and hold and it will speed up, speed up, speed up, speed up, faster, faster, faster. Very fast strobe there. So you have the ability, it's very fine-grained adjustments there to the strobe. Now the next one is tactical strobe. So if we go double click, I'll cover that. Now this is maximum brightness. You're just going to get a strobe basically. So what you do is, again, you can change that. So if you hold it like that, it's going to get faster and faster and faster. There's a very fast strobe there. And then if you click and hold, it's going to lower the rate, lower, slower, slower, slower. Very slow strobe there. So again, tactical strobe, handy if you're being attacked and things like that. But as you can see, not so quick to get to, is it? So I don't know how you would use that in a tactical situation, but it's certainly there. And then you have one more mode, which is lightning storm. So if we go to that, there, that's lightning storm. So you're getting a flickering on and off. So it's off and then on, bang. So like a lightning storm or electrical storm, as people like to call them these days. You're getting this flash of an electrical arc in the sky. So again, this is for people who, I don't know, if you're a vampire and you're like, or you're maybe as if you're the Count of Sesame Street, 1, 2, 3, or something like that. I don't know.
Hello? Yes, operator. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, please.
But it's there if you want it. Okay, so that's the end of the UI section. So I can take this thing away. In fact, I'll just flick it away. Yeah, there you go. Right, that gets rid of that. So, you know, UI wise, it is very, very, very capable. I love that UI. I've already given it a mark out of 10. I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. Well done, Lumintop. As usual, Lumintop did a damn fine job. Okay, so enough of me talking. I've given it a mark. I've told you the pros and cons. Let's get outside.